to our NEC Now series. This is part of the NEC Overtime Pod. You can find the NEC Overtime Pod on your favorite podcast platform, Apple, Spotify, and Stitcher. Today's guest, he is familiar to NEC football fans, a former all-conference defensive player. Now he's a coach. He's the defensive coordinator of St. Francis U. Bishop Neal. Bishop, thanks for joining me as a guest on our NEC Now series. Obviously, you have a bit of a unique story, having been an athlete in the Northeast Conference and then now evolution into a coach in the Northeast Conference. So seems like an interesting perspective, and I'll be really excited to talk to you about that today. Let's start off now where you're from. You're a lifelong Pennsylvania guy. I believe you're from Clairton. Yes, what's Clairton, Pennsylvania all about? So right there.
I am from Clairton, Pennsylvania. You know, you'll never hear me say I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Always Clairton. You know, Clairton's it's a small mill town, and it's a huge football. It's a football town. You know, everybody there's, you know, they're all in on the football, and that's what we live and die by. You know, that's just the way we always operate it. It's just as it is what it is. We love football. You know, that's who we are.
Well, I know football is really big and popular out in Western Pennsylvania, a big part of the community, right. Certainly high school football, youth football. So you kind of answered my question that, you know, being born in Clairton, you know, football is kind of automatically in your blood, because I was going to ask you, you know, how did you get your start in football? When did you begin to play the game? And when did you really think about having a future in football, having a career in football?
You know, I kind of started a little later than the normal kid in football. You know, I didn't start playing. I know everybody that was around me, they started playing around when they were about 5 or 6 years old. You know, that's how it is in Clairton. But, you know, I didn't start playing until I was around 10 or 11. You know, I was a little older than with my start, you know. But the reason for that, my dad didn't want me to play unless I was serious. You know, he knew that it was a serious game, and you know, he knew that you're not going to be out there if you're not going to give you all, if you're not going to be all in on it. And, you know, even at that age, you know, I was maybe 10 or 11 years old, and, you know, he had me out there running with parachutes, you know, running with tires and things like that, just getting my body right and training my body to, you know, to withstand the season and, you know, and prepare myself to, you know, to dominate the competition I'm going to be playing against. But, you know, and that's kind of how I had my start, and that's, you know, that's why my mentality is what it is. You know, it's just the way my dad approached it. The way he approached the game is, you know, kind of the same way I approach it.
Did your dad have any coaching ties or any football background, or did he just love the game and he
played in high school. He's a high school player. He also coached us. You know, he coached our little league team growing up. He's a football guy through and through. You know, people around Clairton still tell me stories about how he would run through people and hit people, and you know how good of a running back he was. So, you know, he's just a football guy. You know, and he bred that with me.
So now, how do you wind up at St. Francis? Obviously, you play youth football. You go on to play in high school. You wind up, I think, at St. Francis in 2011, yep, which I believe coincides with Coach Valerial's head coaching tenure there. I know he was a part of the program with the old coach, Dave Ofar, but I believe he took over the head coaching job around 2011. And I believe that's when you came in. How did you wind up at St. Francis at that time, which was sort of a time of transition for their program?
Well, I started at St. Francis. It was during my recruiting process. It was a tough situation. It was a tough process. I always felt like I was, a little underrated. Because I truly, even when I got to college, I didn't have a position. I was always a guy that never truly had a position. And I got to St. Francis because a coach at Clareton, Eric Fusco, he did a great job with reaching out to schools for me. St. Francis was one that his now wife at the time, or his now wife, she was a basketball coach at St. Francis, and she ended up passing my film on to the football staff, and they loved it. Coach North was a guy he was the linebacker coach at the time, also the defensive coordinator. I guess he loved the film, and they took a shot on me, and I really appreciated it. They were the only school that took a shot on me, so I've been loyal ever since. Just because they were loyal to me. They took a shot on me, a little kid from Clareton that we get a bad rap at times, but a little kid from Clareton that didn't have a position.
And I definitely want to talk about the position in a minute. But before we go there and talk about your linebacker, defensive back, hybrid kind of role,
Right.
and then explore some of the defensive backs at St. Francis over the past 10 years, because we know a lot of all-conference talent and all-America talent has come through the program over the past decade. But that leads me perfectly into my next question, because I'm talking about all conference talent and all America talent at St. Francis. But when you arrived as a student athlete, they were coming off a 1-win season. I believe your freshman year was a 2-win season, but then things started to turn. I believe you guys had 3 straight seasons where you won 5 games apiece. And for a program that had not won more than 3 NEC games in any given season in its history, and a program that had not had a winning season at the FCS level, that was a big deal. And then sure enough, 2 years later, you come back as a coach. I know I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but you come back as a coach, and St. Francis wins an NEC championship and goes to the FCS playoffs. So what about that transformation really sticks with you? Because you saw it from the beginning on a 2-win team as a freshman and all the way through to where the program is today in 2020, and you're the defensive coordinator.
Right. It was that first year was tough, man. It was tough. I come from our high school, coming from Clareton High School, I probably only lost 4 games my entire career in high school. So that first year, only winning 2 games, it was it was a rough transition for me. But we've had the talent, ever since then. We always had the talent to do it, and like as players, we seen that. It was just it was mentality at times. It got to a point in games sometimes you could just look over to the teammate next to you and you could see that he was already defeated before the game was over. So that's what we truly had to change. Our class, we came in, I guess it was a good amount of us that came in that year, but I think our class was the class that truly set out to change the mentality that we're not going to keep this losing effort. Like, we're here for a reason. and we're here to change things and not just continue with the flow. That was our mentality, you know, and you know, it continues to change, continues to keep getting better. You know, being a coach now, you know, having more of a say in that. You know, I think that's huge. I love the position I'm in. I'm very grateful for the position that I'm in. But yeah, it's been a huge transition, you know, from even the athletes that we're getting now, and you know, even the support that the school is giving us now as well. So, you know, it's been a huge transition from that 2011 season till 2020. And it's
Now,
only on the way up.
absolutely. Now, in 2013, you were all-conference player on the second team. Your senior year, you were first-team all-conference. I believe officially you were listed as a linebacker, but it was kind of weird. You could linebacker, defensive back, safety. I don't want to say the word tweener but you were kind of maybe a little before your time. Now you see, especially in the NFL, you see this quote unquote hybrid position where teams are going maybe a little smaller, a little lighter, a little faster. And it's almost like your third linebacker is another safety in a sense. But what can you say about yourself as a player and kind of finding a role and playing this hybrid? Because honestly, like I said, you were an all-conference linebacker, but I mean, you could have been considered an all-NEC DB as well.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really like talking about myself as a player, you know, because, you know, right now it's not about me. You know, it's about the guys that I'm coaching. But as a player, I was just hungry. You know, I always felt like I had something to prove. I always felt like I had a chip on my shoulder just because of the fact that I didn't have a position. You know, I was always undersized to be a linebacker. You know, I was always a step too slow to be a true safety. You know, and, you know, I realized that. And it took me a while to realize that until I ran my 40. And I got the 40 time back, and I was like, yeah, I'm not a safety. I'm not a corner, not a DB. But yeah, it was just the mentality that I had it allowed me to, you know, get the most out of, you know, my true potential and my just my physical makeup. You know, it was more of I wasn't the most physically gifted guy. You know, I was always a little undersized, so my mentality had to be a little bit different than the most to be the all conference guy. You know, I had to work a little harder than most people.
Well, let's talk about some of these guys that you both played with and then coached. And I mean, it's such a long list. Of course, Lorenzo Jerome, Malik Duncan, Delando Boyd, Hakeem Kennard. I mean, the list goes on and on. Jermaine Ponder. I know I'm missing a ton of guys, but it seems that over the past 10 years, it's been a hotbed for all conference defensive backs in Loretto. What can you say about that as a whole? You know, do you see yourself as a DBU of the NEC? And also, any of those guys that I mentioned, what stands out to you about those individual players? Did they have something in common? Was there something that they all, some thread that tied them together? You know, what was it that made those individuals so successful at this level?
You know, when people ask me about the DBs that I coached and the success that they had, I give it all to them. You know, it's all the work ethic that they put in. You know, it was I'll say it's culture over talent there. You know, it's more culture over talent because they just keep passing it down as the years go on. You know, it's they still love to communicate with the guys that's on the team now. So it's, you know, so it never falls. You know, that's the big thing, is that even when we were here, you know, when I was playing here, same thing. You know, people always reached out to us and, you know, made sure that we was keeping a legacy that was going. You know, Jake DeMetal was a guy that was really a great leader for us. You know, Daquan Mentor also was a great leader for us. You know, so like those guys they still give back. You know, they still come back and talk to the guys and, you know, make sure that they're doing what they still need to be doing. And, you know, that's the thing that I think it is, man. It's more culture than it is me. You know, it's not me at all. It's more just the culture of it that we built throughout the years.
It seems as if there's, you know, a real sense of community around the St. Francis football program.
Right. And it's growing. It's growing.
Now, as far as you personally, in your position, Bishop, as someone who has come up through a mill town in Western Pennsylvania, under-recruited, you got a chance at college, you made the most of it, you're now coaching, giving back to the game, and you're in a position of leadership. And you're an example of success. Do you see yourself as that? And do you see yourself as maybe an agent of change in today's world? And do you see it as an opportunity to help guide and teach and support young men?
Right, and I definitely see myself as a leader in that way to help make change throughout the world. That's part of the reason why I got into coaching in the first place. You know, that was the biggest thing, that I wanted to be able to, you know, help people get on the right track and also stay on the right track. You know, because where I'm from, you know, it's football or, you know, it's the streets. Like that's the option that you pick throughout your life growing up in Clarion. So it's either you'll pick football or you'll pick the streets, because, you know, education system isn't the greatest. You know, the motivation behind that isn't the greatest. You know, but I was grateful, you know, to have my dad. He was a coach, and, you know, my mom she was huge on academics. And I was grateful to have both of my parents in my life. And, you know, I grew up around people that didn't have that, you know, and I seen the negative sides of it, you know, growing up, and I was able to, you know, identify that and, you know, to see that and try to help them throughout, you know, us growing up. And, you know, most people end up, you know, staying on the right track, but there's also some people that don't, you know, that takes a different route because their situation may be different. But yeah, that's the reason why I became a coach, is to try to keep guys on that right track and, you know, keep progressing, you know, keep striving for something, you know, just keep trying to be a righteous guy in this world, you know. So that's the huge reason why I got into coaching, and obviously the love for the game.
So I'm sure your players do see you as a role model. There's no reason why they shouldn't. Let's talk about some of those players right now, if you don't want to single them out, but maybe talk about your defense as a whole. And obviously there's going to be a lot of excitement to get back to football for everyone, for the country. But there was already some excitement to get into the 2020 season at St. Francis, because I know the defense did some big things last year, and I'm sure you guys are set to improve on that. So how excited are you for 2020 and to coach up this Red Flash defense?
I am very excited, man. I miss football so much, man. Not having spring ball, that was tough, man. You know, I believe we're very we're blessed, with the individual players that we have right now. We have a great great group of guys coming back on both sides of the ball. We're blessed right now. So the thing is, we also got a bunch of great guys coming in as well. So we just got to keep coaching those guys up, keep coaching them hard, and making sure that they know that what they can actually do in this on the field, man. So I don't want them to. I hate using the word potential. I always hate using the word potential because its potential is I feel like it's a disrespect. I've always thought that. A couple of my players, we were talking about this before. Potential is kind of a disrespect. Either you is or you ain't. Right? It's either you're going to be good or you're not. There's no potential there. But I really hate using the word. I do. But it's all work. We're gonna get in. We're gonna get out what we put in. We're definitely gonna get out what we put in. I think we have the guys to do it. So I'm excited to to lead those guys.
Yeah, I'm with you on the word potential. I do find myself using it a lot, but it's kind of lazy, and it's the potential of what could be, but there's also a reality of what it is right now too.
Right. Exactly. And you gotta actually work hard to reach that. So I don't know if it's potential. It's just it's work ethic. Everybody can be better. Even like potential is just like you said, it's a lazy word.
Now, how about your guys? What have they been doing to stay on top of their game during this? It's an off season, but it's an off season unlike we've never seen. There was no spring ball. Guys weren't on campus. They didn't finish out classes on campus. I'm sure just emotionally, mentally, like it's a lot has to be going through these guys' minds. And I'm sure that you as a coach have your phone's probably been blowing up. Guys just probably even looking to chat or looking for advice or trying to talk. So how have these guys been dealing with this situation, and how have you been interacting with them over this last 2.5 month, 3-month period?
It's definitely been a tough period, tough time, especially with this with the COVID going on, because obviously we don't have. There's a lot of restrictions that we can't actually send guys through workouts. Like I can't have them record the videos and send to me. So I just just tell them, make sure that you're doing what they're supposed to be doing. They know the everyday drills that we do, and the things that I'm big on, especially conditioning. They know what they should be doing, and if they have questions, they usually reach out to me. We also have meetings, just about install things, and we also have meetings about just mindset stuff. So that's how we've been handling it around here. But like most teams, our hands are tied with a lot of things that we can do.
All right, now I really appreciate your time today, and it's great to learn more about your story and your mindset and your perspective on things. I think probably the most appropriate way to round this out is to give you a chance to make a pitch for your program. I know you're one of the recruiting coordinators out there.
Right.
Why St. Francis, and why St. Francis football?
So my recruiting pitch is terrible. All right, because what I'm gonna say is, if you're willing to, depends on what you want. Depends on what you want in this world. If you want to be great at football, obviously St. Francis is a great opportunity. We have guys that showed that they could be great in the football field. We had guys that went off and signed NFL contracts. Also had guys that are All-Americans and All-Conference guys, and won NEC championship in 2016. So if you want that opportunity,
you can even learn from a head coach that was an 11-year veteran in the NFL as well. So
100%. Yeah. He's a huge point, but all that is, I would say all that is BS though. All of it is BS if you don't come in and put the work in. It doesn't matter what we can do for you. It's what you're going to do for yourself, and what are you going to be able to retain. And if we it's all it is you got to be, the recruit got to be willing to work with us. If the recruit is willing to work with us and work with the school and work with the program, they're going to get the most, whether if it's on the field, off the field, in the classroom, they're going to get the most out of it, and we're going to make sure of that. All right? But the recruit got to be willing to do so. And if you're not willing to do so, St. Francis ain't the place for you. But if you are willing to do so, we would love to have you. So that's most of the time, that's my recruiting pitch, because, it ain't all glitter and gold. Football, like college football, no matter what school you're at, it's not all glitter and gold. So I'm not against it.
Neither is life. I don't know anything in life that's all glitter and gold. So
right, exactly.
With that said, do you feel now, I don't want to really put you on the spot, but do you feel now that going into 2020, you have enough of those type of guys in your locker room, enough of those young men who understand what St. Francis football is and what they're there to do?
100%. 100%. I think that we have a ton of guys, that are willing to put the work in, and we've been it's a ton of guys that have actually been making strides that to gain that mentality as well. Some people that came in with that mentality, some people was gaining that mentality right now as well. But I think we have enough. I think we have a good amount of guys that's going to come in and step in and lead the pack and lead the rest of the team. That's what it's all about. And I'm excited. I'm excited to get back out there and see the growth of the guys, both physically and mentally. At the end of the day, the mental part is going to separate you.
One more now. Best player you've ever played against, and then the best player you've played against in the NEC.
Best player
or coached against.
Best player I ever played against was on my team. Kahari Dixon.
Really?
He was the best player that I've ever played against. He was one of the – we literally, at practice, we used to get in fights all the time just because we kept wanting to – we wanted to one-up each other all the time. Like, you're not better than me. Like, that was the mentality every single practice. And, it made both of us better, throughout our career. But he was definitely one of the toughest guys I've ever played against. And, he never backed down from anything. There was a lot of guys that, in the middle of a game, like guys that was all conference guys on other teams that, if we're attacking them, if we're hitting them hard, you see it that he start curring up a little bit. And, but if we're attacking Kahari like that at practice, there was no back down, no backing down at all. So he was tough. He was a tough guy. Best player that I've coached against in the NEC was probably Nahari Crawford.
Okay.
Sure. He was different. He was different. He was pretty good. Watching
quickness, shifty, good hands.
Yep.
without a doubt. And then going back to Kahari, the reason why I was kind of surprised when you said Kahari, obviously he was an All-American talent,
He was ridiculous.
NEC Russia champ. You know, he wasn't the only All-American back to come through St. Francis. You had Kyle Harbridge as well.
Right.
But the reason why I was surprised when you said Kahari was I thought you were going to say Tyler Boyd from your hometown, now with the Cincinnati Bengals. But I didn't know, maybe did you overlap with him at all?
Yeah, he was younger than me though. He was a sophomore when I was a senior. He was really talented too. Like, he was really talented. We knew he was going to be special because we used to have Wednesday practices was our defensive practice days, and he would be our scout team running back. And he was the only person that could consistently score on our defense. And like we knew he was going to be special. And you know, throughout that year, we started to see his growth even as a sophomore. You know, we went down to the state championship, and you know that was his coming out party. Like he ended up scoring like 3 touchdowns. We were down 24-0, you know, and he single-handedly brought us back into the game as a sophomore. So like we knew he was going to be special. You know,
yeah,
but he was.
There's got to be a lot of pride too, right, from a guy like that from your hometown, small town,
right?
Who makes it that far, you know.
Love him, man. He was you know, I wouldn't say that he was one of the best players I played against because at the time he was really talented. He was good.
He was younger though. He was
younger, and he was probably like 100.
You're much more advanced than he was as a high school senior.
He was about 140 pounds at the time too. So you know, but athletically, yes, he had it. You know, but he just wasn't as developed yet. But we seen that it was going to be special. But yeah, Kahari Dixon was really, really special when we played together.
Yeah, he was again part of that revolution or renaissance, you know, a rebirth out in Loretto for the program. So
he helped change the mentality as well.
Absolutely. Well, Bishop, I really appreciate your time, and it's good to chat with somebody, talk some football. Hopefully the season will be here before we know it. I wanted to come. We got positive signs. I think we're on the right path.
Right.
I think we're all intending to open on time. So let's just hope that we keep going in that direction.
I'm excited to get back, man.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your time again, and we'll be sure to catch up with you as we move forward here throughout the season. But thanks again, Bishop Neal, St. Francis U alum, and he is now the defensive coordinator for Red Flash football. I'm Ralph Entry. This is an NEC Now on the NEC Overtime Pod.